I, female 27 and my husband 29 have been together for 3 years. In those 3 years, I've never known him to be selfish, occasionally immature, yes, but even that was rare. These problems arose when those stupid cake-smashing videos got popular, and my husband thought they were hilarious. I've never thought they were funny, and he knows that, yet he was always showing me videos of those poor wives getting the happiest day of their life ruined by their idiot partner for some cheap laughs. He also knows I have a history of cake smashing. My family does the cake smashing thing. I remember it was my 17th birthday and I pleaded with my mom not to do it. She promised and I trusted her. I had my hair and makeup done up all nice, and right when I blew out my candles, my mom pushed my head into the cake and one of the decorations on the cake ended up slicing my forehead. Not enough to go to the hospital, but enough for some substantial bleeding. My birthday was ruined, and after I wouldn't come out of my room. My mom still calls me a brat for that. I told him I'd leave him if he ever did something like that to me. He started laughing, but I was being for real, though he really wasn't taking me seriously. Now skip to a few days ago when my wedding happened. Everything was perfect. I was happy and he was happy. I was excited about our new lives as newlyweds. I felt like a princess in my puffy white dress, done-up hair and perfect makeup. All very expensive things, I'd like to mention. We get to the cake cutting part, and as I turn to him, he scoops up a huge chunk of our wedding cake and smashes it all over my face. Everything just seemed to go in slow motion for a few moments. He's just laughing at me and then says, "You should see your face," and continues to laugh. Other people in the crowd, mostly my family, are also laughing at me. Then I just start walking away. He realizes that I'm leaving, tries to catch up with me and says I'm being extra. I push him away and order an Uber. As I got outside, most of the crowd was following me, telling me to come back. I get into the Uber and drive away. I drove to our apartment, packed most of my things and went to stay at a hotel. I currently, though, am staying at a friend's house. My family and his family have been blowing up my phone for days, saying I'm being childish and my husband is a good man and it was just a joke. My husband has been calling me off the hook, telling me to please come home and that he wants to talk. He said that he was sorry and didn't think I'd get that emotional. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and he embarrassed me in front of everyone for some prank that he knew I hated. Not only that, he ruined a $500 cake. He ruined my makeup, my hair, and the top of my dress. The cake got all over. Though I still do love him, and I'm wondering if I really was too hard on him. That seems to be everyone else's opinion. So, am I the idiot? Guy here. I've ended relationships for less. OP, I'm so sorry. No, you're not the idiot. Your response was calm and restrained. You didn't hit him, throw the cake on the floor, or even rage at everyone in the room. You simply left. The groom owes you an apology and as much of a do-over as he can create. Everyone who laughed owes you an apology, particularly Mom, who tried to normalize treating you this way. And everyone texting to blame you can suck eggs. Shout out to the mom for being a huge idiot. Calling OP a brat, I'd be angry too. I thought Cake Smash was meant for a 1-year-old on their birthday, which I think is also stupid. Just eat the cake like a normal person. I do wonder if OP has blinders on for this man's level of immaturity based on her mother's level of immaturity. Because isn't it weird that he'd all of a sudden become immature and selfish at their wedding? Well, people with idiot abusive parents unfortunately often find idiot abusive partners. Ask me how I know. LOL. Girl, you are so justified. Your family traumatized you, and he was set up to continue the treatment. Move on with someone who will respect you and your boundaries. If he couldn't do this one thing, you know he won't respect your other boundaries. This, and the fact he's then saying, "I never realized you get so emotional," which invalidates how she feels about it. This is a glimpse into the rest of your marriage. He completely disregarded what you specifically told him not to do. Annulment. Screw that guy. You deserve better. My mother and I have a very good relationship. She's also babysat my daughter more times than I count for free. The only time I've ever paid her for babysitting was when I had to leave for a work trip or something of that sort, and I needed her to babysit my daughter for at least a week. The rate was $115 a day, which is very reasonable. Last week I told my mother that I needed her to watch my daughter for a couple of hours while I did some errands, and she told me that she won't continue babysitting my daughter unless I start paying her for every hour, not just the long trips. I refused because what kind of grandparent asks to be paid to watch their grandchild for a few hours? We got into a pretty heated argument, so I had to bring my daughter with me, which wasn't great. I couldn't find anyone else who was available to take her in, and her father isn't in the picture. He didn't want anything to do with our daughter, so we divorced. The child support payments hardly cover her bare necessities. One of my friends who had met up with me asked why I brought her along, and when I told her that I refused to pay my mother to babysit for just a few hours, I had no one else I could hire and trust on such short notice. She told me that I should pay my mother for babysitting every time and not just for the work trips, because the poor old woman is spending her time and energy on a kid at her age, which I don't even know what that means. I never recalled my grandmother asking to be paid to watch me. That wasn't even fathomable, and she'd babysat me until I was a teenager, so I was pretty much aware. I don't know. Am I the idiot? Edit, my mother is very well off. I only ask her to babysit once or twice a week at most, sometimes only 2 times for a whole month. The rest of the time, I pay a nanny to watch my daughter, but during the times she isn't available, I ask my mother. I'm also an only child. My mother is in her early 60s, and she always enjoyed spending time with her granddaughter. Wow, how absolutely full of crap you are to just presume on your mother's time. You literally said she'd babysat your child more times than you can count, which absolutely means you're taking advantage of her. Your errands were obviously to go out and enjoy spending time with your friends. You are the idiot. Pay people for their time or do the work yourself. And you chose to have a kid, which means it's your job, not your mother's, to manage her. I'm 38 with a 9-year-old, and sometimes his energy wears me out. Granny can't be chasing your crotch goblins around at 60. No. OP should have charged her mom a grandchild rental fee for the privilege of spending time with her kid. Jesus, OP's acting like her mom may not have plans of her own. She also doesn't know what arrangement her mom had with her grandmother. I didn't find out that the neighbour who used to watch us after school was getting paid until adulthood. I pay a nanny to watch my daughter, but when she isn't available, I ask my mother. This, coupled with her errand was to go hang out with her friend, makes me think OP has been dumping her daughter on Grandma to have fun on the weekends while avoiding parenting. She's asking Grandma to babysit once or twice a week, which is how many weekend days there are, and weekend days are the logical days for the nanny to have off. I, female 25, have been married for a year now. It's customary in our culture that women stay with their in-laws after marriage. I didn't subscribe to this and told my husband, then boyfriend before marriage itself, that I wanted to live separately from them. He agreed since he himself wanted to live away from his parents and build his own life. But as a compromise, we would still visit them and stay at their place every couple of months. It's again customary that the daughter-in-law helps the mother-in-law with household tasks, the stench of patriarchy. In our house, that is mine and my husband's, we're equals. We do chores together. In in-law's place, it's always his mom who does the majority of chores. She was a stay-at-home mom too. When I'm visiting, I'm expected to help her with the chores. Not my husband, just me. I just rope him in as well. The major issue is that everyone there wakes up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. That's way too early for me, even on days when I have work. Since we go there on my off days, I just want to sleep in, at least till 8 or 9 a.m. Initially, they didn't say much about this, a few snide comments that I let go, choose my battles and all, but this morning my mother-in-law made a big show of how I never help her with chores. Let me clarify. She wakes at 6 a.m. and finishes most tasks by 9 a.m. By the time I'm awake, it's all done. I help prep, but that doesn't count to her. The fact I don't slave away in the kitchen is making her mad. When she went on a whole woe is me act, my husband, who normally supports me, also got mad at me. He asked why I couldn't wake up a few days out of a month earlier than I wanted to and help his mom. When I said he could help his mom since he wakes up anyway, he said that's not the point. He said he doesn't ask much of me and this is the least I can do. Respect his parents when we're staying under their roof. I got mad and told him I didn't want to stay under their roof, and neither did I have to. With that, I just packed my bags and left that place. Now my parents and husband are blasting my phone for overreacting. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He married a woman, not a servant. While it's nice to help when one is a guest, you're being treated like a maid. These are his parents. He can help them. Isn't it interesting how you're expected to respect their customs, but they're not expected to respect yours, in which the guests are now treated as guests, not unpaid help? If you're visiting on the days that you're off work, it's not fair that only you are expected to wake up at the crack of dawn and slog away at the kitchen. If his mom is a stay-at-home mom and his parents have found that balance where his dad works and his mom is responsible for all the household work, that's okay. For them. They should accept that you work as well, and it's your time off work. So if you're expected to help out in any way, your husband should be as well. Stick to this and don't give in, or further down the road you'll be expected to make way more compromises, and you will find it more difficult to say no. When I first started dating my husband and visiting his family, I would get side eyes from all the women who cooked, set the table, and cleaned up when I refused to go along. Good Lord, his mom barely sat to eat at all as she kept catering to everyone. It felt so awkward to me as that was not my family experience. All the men sat on their butts. My husband was pulled aside and given a talk. On the drive home, he mentioned it to me. I said, when I see all the men pitching in and helping, I will. Now, this is a husband who cooked every night for us with no problem. I cleaned up after dinner. He fully participated in all the household chores as we both worked. The next time we visited, he got up and cleared the table. Finally, a couple of the boys followed his lead. Now everyone pitches in to help. I'm not sure how difficult the cycle would be to break if it's cultural, but you can try. I, 28 female, have been married to my husband for 18 months and we're expecting our first child. When I first met my husband, we discussed children and even naming children. We both wanted kids and felt that kids deserve their own names, not honour or long-standing family names. My husband has one. It's somewhat of a tradition, and he told me it was complicated at the best of times, but also meant what felt like a very old man's name was often continued on and on in the family with no time to let it rest. We discussed it all more in depth when we got engaged. We'd agreed that we would stand together and not give a son, if we had one, the family name that would be expected. We're now in the very position we discussed, and my husband has changed his mind. The name in question is Arthur. The name has become far more popular in the last couple of years, and I worry that its rise in popularity and the familial pressure have made my husband give in and decide that we should stick to the tradition. I'm very upset about this fact, and my husband and I have been disagreeing for nearly 3 months now on the name. I still believe that children should have their own names, and I still don't even like it. He has gone back on our promise, and that stings. We were at his sister's house on Saturday for her daughter's 3rd birthday party. While we were there, certain family members, mostly his mom, brother and grandfather, told us we should announce baby Arthur's name, and I told them Arthur would not be my son's name. My husband said we still needed to talk more about that, and he would find a way to talk me around. His mom chimed in with a remark about trusting them to name babies over my parents, who sought to give me a trendy and boyish name, Riley. I told her she was rude and had no right to insult my parents. My husband told his mom that she was stepping over the line. She said she was calling it like she saw it. She also claimed my parents had an even bigger issue with middle names, which, according to her, shows that my parents only ever considered themselves and not me or my siblings. My husband told her to stop. But he brought it up again, and I told him I would not be pressured into a name. We'd both agreed multiple times that we would not name our son. Then his family got involved again and told me I shouldn't want to deny my son the chance to hold the family name. They also told me it wasn't fair for me to unilaterally decide his name. I told them to mind their own effing business, and I did say effing because kids were around, which was between my husband and me. They were shocked at how I spoke to them and told me I should have apologised and left. They still want their damn apology. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but you've got to figure a way over the hump with your husband. Your in-laws are being 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag and you can ignore them, but you have to live with your husband. He's wrong for the betrayal, and I don't blame you at all for being hurt and angry, but maybe look into some short-term counselling and take advantage of a neutral third party to mediate. Also, your husband doesn't get to give your kid just his surname automatically. Keep that in mind too. Actually, the kid takes the mother's surname. It's just that traditionally the parents were married and the mother had already taken the father's surname. My husband's son and father-in-law all have the same first and last names. It's a freaking nightmare. From getting loans to just everyday mail, it's a circus. Don't do it. Make sure to tell your L&D nurse to only give the birth certificate papers to you. He might try to fill them out behind your back. I, female 24, have been working for a year and making good money. Recently, my parents approached me and asked if I could pay for my sister's tuition. I said no, that even if I could, I won't. I have some reasons for the same. When I wanted to go to university and got admission into a good one, my parents said they couldn't afford the tuition. Though disappointed, I said fine, just co-sign some loans with me. They refused again, saying they didn't want to take such a burden at their age. This made me frustrated. We talked about college before and they'd never said we didn't have funds for it. I'd worked my butt off for it. I haven't saved money because I never knew it was a concern. I had to go to community college and work part-time to pay for it. I had switched to accounting and worked at a small accounting firm. It went big, and as I graduated, I got a good-paying job there due to prior experience with the company. Now, seeing how my parents dared to ask me for money, I was furious. They said I had a responsibility towards my sister, that I have the resources and should help her achieve her dream. I told them she was their kid and they had the responsibility, not me, that they should sign a loan with her. They said they couldn't do that, citing the same reason for not wanting a loan into their retirement. I said, tough crap, let her figure it out on her own. Now my sister is blasting my phone, calling me an idiot for not helping her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for not offering to pay your sister's tuition, but you can still help your sister. You can point her towards any resources that help you get through college, from how you found your job to where you look for any scholarships, if you got any, and where you got loans for college. Help comes in many forms. I think Sis wants help in the form of a check though, not advice where she should have to make some effort herself. She wouldn't have called with immediate hostility if it was just the help she wanted. I get that the parents could have lied. I wouldn't put it past people like that, to be honest. Unless Sis is used to always getting her way and can't take no for an answer, she would have handled it with the maturity of someone over 6 years old. OP, you worked your butt off because they didn't want to take on financial obligations for their kid, but expect you to for their other kid? No, sorry, honey. This situation smacks of entitlement and favoritism. They have a lot of nerve saying it's your responsibility. Go on with your life and let them figure it out.